Good morning, everyone. My name is Manana Rtskhiladze, and I'm Global Workforce Analytics Lead at Electrolux. Um, First of all, I want to say thank you. I'm very happy to be here today to listen to all the great presentations and also to be able to share our story. So today I'll be talking about our people analytics journey at Electrolux, where we started, what we have accomplished so far, and where we would like to go. I will start with our people analytics mission statement, which is value creation through the delivery of actionable people data insights, enabling better business decisions. And of course, I mean, it's very, very important for the insights to be actionable so that we can see what we can do to improve after we have gained certain understanding of what situation we are in. And also it's very, very important that whatever we do, everything is relevant to the business. I'll give you a little bit of context of where we started also in terms of data, and then I'll talk a little bit of where we are from maturity perspective. Not that long ago, Electrolux has implemented first global HR system. And it was for the first time just a few years ago that we had people data in one global system. When I talk about people data and what you see here also below, here we mean more data such as location, division, like organizational data, gender information, reporting lines, and so on. And then on top of it, we also built different processes, different HR processes, which in turn are also generating data, right? And this as foundation gives us possibility to talk about people analytics, because we are looking at the people data, at the data from different processes, and then we can see what trends, if we see any trends. We can also actually see if there are some opportunities for process improvements also, which is important because we are still in the early stages of it. It hasn't been many years that we have been running processes like that. So it gives quite some information about the alignment needed and so on. I will be talking a little bit about the data quality, importance of data quality, and as for every type of analytics, also for people analytics, data quality is critical, because this is the basis what the analytics is built on, right? So if we have poor data quality, the results that we'll get in analytics will also be poor. And when there are different aspects to it, one is the single version of the truth, which is very, very important, especially in the beginning of the journey. It can really harm the credibility of people analytics if we are using, for example, different systems to report on the same things, and then the end users are getting multiple version of truth, right? So that can be perceived really bad, and it can harm, as I mentioned already, the credibility. And then when we talk about data quality, what is also very, very important is to have common language. Therefore, data standards, data dictionary, and the governance is also very important to make sure that we're talking about the same things. So when we, in the beginning, when we actually, before we even talked about people analytics as such, but we had more possibility to report on global data, we started to see increased number of ad hoc requests, mostly from HRBP supporting global organizations, because as I mentioned, this was the first time that we had global data in one system. Before, they would need to go to 4 different regions and then consolidate different files and so on. So the requests were mostly like simple reporting requests, but the amount of it was really high, which also showed us that, okay, we have the need for working on it more. And what we knew from the beginning was that we didn't want to have reporting team working on ad hoc requests reactively. We rather wanted to be proactive and focus on analysis and give some recommendations based on the data, of course, after we would ask the right questions and understand the context. And we wanted to make sure that HRBPs would get access to the reports and dashboards themselves. Whenever they wanted, they could run it and it would be simple to use. Then what we did for that is coming here on the next slide. We first of all, we defined and aligned on KPIs. And here we didn't limit ourselves to what data did we have at the point, but we were rather looking at, okay, what would we like to measure? And in these discussions, we had HR business partners present and different stakeholders, of course, to also understand what was currently the need and what would they see for the future they would like to measure from people analytics perspective. We came with quite a long list of KPIs, and then we had to prioritize and see, okay, what is most important, what is a bit less important, and also to see, okay, what are the KPIs for which we already have data for, and what are the ones that we need to park for now because we either don't store the data points and it will need to become a part of the data maintenance process, or if there were some that needed to have a new process for it. Right. Then the second step, we also started to look at the available tools for data visualization, and we selected ClickSense, which is now integrated with our global HR system. And both from data perspective, it is integrated, it is refreshed, and from the perspective of the user, like user perspective, it's also you go to HR system and then as an extension we have ClickSense, so it feels more like one system. And then, of course, we started to work on implementation of the dashboards and self-service reporting functionality. So the dashboards were built based on the KPIs defined at the first stage. And of course, this has been reviewed continuously and is being reviewed still now. If we see that, okay, something that we defined a couple of years ago may not be that relevant anymore, or we need to tweak something there, or we need to add something, which is happening most. And also the self-service reporting functionality is something very simple that HRBPs can basically create their own reports. Of course, we have security rules in place and they can only see what they are supposed to see. They will not see more, but they can themselves choose what fields they would like to include in their report. It's very simple to build and it is being used quite a lot. And last but not least, we are working on enhancements and feedback implementation. This is very, very important for us. We really are asking our HRBP every chance we get to get their feedback, because that helps us understanding where we are, what are we lacking, what do we need to focus on more, and also, if we are looking at, if we get a certain amount of questions, high amount of questions about one dashboard, then we can look and see, okay, is there something not clear? Can we make it more clear, like purely from functionality perspective, but from the content perspective also, like how can we combine? We don't want to overload the dashboards and have like 20 and 30 pages there, right? We want to have it digestible. How do we combine them together? How do we make sure that it is used as much as possible? And of course, this feedback is extremely valuable for us. Without that, we will not be able to develop and improve and meet the expectations, of course. In the parallel, as you see, we are collecting requirements for the further development of people insights, and we are planning to potentially extend it to also non-HR data sets. That is something that we don't really have a timeline yet when we are going to do it, but we do believe that that will really be then will really become this like function that is adding value to the business, because then we can see, okay, how do our KPIs correlate with overall company performance, for example, and a lot of other interesting areas we can look into. So what we have so far is analytics tool, which is capturing various employee data points, and we can look at the underlying issues. We can look into the root cause of the issue, and we can easily focus on planning for the actions. From the maturity perspective, where we are, I would say we are descriptive and diagnostic analytics. We are using more the KPIs from various processes to identify the root cause and improve and try to take the better decisions. But where we want to go is more we want to become more advanced using historical data to predict future outcomes and then either be ready for these predictions or stop them from occurring. So that's more ambition we have. Impact of people insights or people analytics. Now we are able to use visualizations and dashboards to track the impact of our people processes relative to our business goals. For HRBPs, they incorporate people analytics as permanent fixture into our regular business meetings with people leaders. So that's also like where we want to be. Of course, it's not we're not fully there yet, but that's where we're trying to go. And people insights will need to be a recurring critical part of empowering people leaders to constantly improve, assess, and impact on the organization's most valuable assets, its people. Some of the analytics partnering examples, like I mentioned earlier, from the very beginning when we started to receive high number of reporting requests from mostly our global teams and global HRBPs, we knew that we didn't want to become this like reporting team who would be working on the reports and distributing them even without having the time to ask why these certain reports are needed, right? We wanted more to become analytics partners to our business leaders or HRBPs, and we wanted to help them drive actions and make informed business decisions. And a couple of examples below with what we can already do based on what dashboards and information we have is we can look into if we're hiring right talent, do we have right mix, external versus internal. And we have, of course, our internal targets, and we can always compare to it. We can compare per division, per location, how we stand there. Are we losing our high performers or high potentials? Do we have fair compensation? Do we have diverse teams? How can we set the right targets? And here, it's also important to look outside and when it comes, especially to diversity. I'm talking now about gender diversity right now, but it can be applied to anything else. If we talk about target setting for diversity, it's very useful also to look at on outside. And what we have been using for that was LinkedIn talent analytics. It helps you. It shows you actually how diversity looks outside in other companies within the skill set you are looking or within the function, and then you can also look at the, for example, universities that are generating the talent. So you can use it for setting short-term and long-term goals. It's really, I would say it's really useful to also use outside analytics tools for that, to look at outside. Of course, we do that in terms of other KPIs as well. We are looking at external benchmarks, but this is maybe something that is more impacted by outside market situation. Then we can also look at which part of recruitment process is taking longest time and how can we impact, of course, because we want to not only reduce the cost of the recruitment, that is also impacted quite a lot by the time that it takes, but also mostly to look on the experience of our potential employees, right? Or even the ones that don't end up to be our employees, like how did they perceive the time? When we break down the recruitment process, and if we look at it, if we look on many open requisitions, then we can see, okay, then we can see some trends. Do we have again, do we have trend per location, division, and manager, etc.? But also, what part of the process does usually take longer? Is it the approval from manager, approval from HRBP, or is it when already the requisition is open? And why is that? We can ask questions more and more to dig down and to see what is really the issue. But we can very easily identify what is the part of the recruitment process that is actually dragging down our overall performance in that regard. And then we can also, of course, look at, do we have a lot of employees on long-term sick leave? Any trends there? Are we structured effectively, span of control? And of course, I mean, these are, sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story, right? So therefore, it's very important for the analytics partners to also have time to understand how the business works and to ask the right questions in order to drive conclusions. So we always try to avoid this, to only look at numbers and conclude something there, but rather ask the questions, understand the context, understand the situation, and then based on that, advice for the future steps. I also wanted to show this slide. This is our vision for HR digital transformation. And as you see, it's the best-in-class digital employee experience through an intuitive, unified people management ecosystem, enabling a high-performing learning culture and assisting Electrolux becoming the employer of choice. In the center, we have best-in-class employee experience, digital employee experience, and around it, we have three key cornerstones, one of them being people insights. And we have then the initiatives connected to each of these cornerstone are visualized more like bricks. And we see here that we have analytics tools, tools that enable capturing various data points and can represent them in a simple way. Global processes to make sure that we have standard way of capturing information, and the real-time quality data. To summarize, it's really hard to summarize it all like that, because I would still say that we are still in the beginning of this of this journey, and not only we as a company, but generally people analytics is still a fairly novel topic, and it changes the way HR has been working historically, right? Therefore, this change requires time. So that is also something we knew, of course, but also we saw how important it is. That it is really like it changes really. It completely changes the way HR has been operating. It makes the position of HR business partners stronger, and it has lots of benefits, of course. But we also should see that the behavior change is huge, and it takes time. So we have to be patient and try to support our business partners as much as we can. Therefore, it's very important that we also get feedback from them. If how we are supporting, how do they see our support, and what can we do better? It's very important to have the right expectations and agile approach, to take small steps, see the outcome and impact, and get feedback and keep improving. This is also, a lot of organizations and everyone is talking about this agile approach a lot nowadays, but it really helps a lot not to try to plan to do something huge and launch something huge at once, but rather go with very, very small steps, and then we learn more, we become more confident on this journey, and we can accomplish better results. And one learning also in regards of data quality is to make it visible and keep improving. And of course, the data quality has to be to a certain level before we start building KPIs and dashboards on top of it, and we start sharing it. But we had quite a lot of discussions about it before we went live with our tool, if it would be better to focus more efforts on data quality improvement and only when and if we would reach that certain level, then to go live with the tool. And we do believe that, of course, we should try to always keep the data quality in good shape. But when we make it visible, and when we made it visible, there were a lot of discussions triggered, because data quality is something that should be continuously discussed and challenged. And this data visualization and making it more to use the data, to change the behavior towards using data more, even if we see that, okay, the quality is not okay here, we need to improve. Maybe the actions in the beginning will be more triggered, and will be more directed towards the improvement of the data quality or improvement of the processes that are generating this data. But that's also okay, and actually that's also great, because we're still improving something, right? So, and that would be also one of my takeaway. Thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions.